Alright, so in this week's lesson, we're going to be talking about Mixolydian mode, or the Mixolydian scale. What it is, how you can find it. We're going to connect it to some basic chord shapes that you already know. And then how to use it when you improvise. It's a must-know scale. You got to work this in. It's a nice bluesy scale that you can play whether you're playing bluegrass or blues, but it also works in rock, like jam band type scenarios. I think of the Grateful Dead or the Allman Brothers. If you like that vibe, especially Jerry Garcia, who's a big fan of this scale, then you're going to really love this scale. And it's easy to play. It's the major scale. We're just going to alter one note. And I'll explain how you can connect it to some things you already know so that you can get to it quickly. So I've got this lesson split into two videos. In this video, we're going to go through the theory part of the Mixolydian scale, and then we're going to talk about the first half of that bluegrass song that I played in the intro. I'll show you how to play that. If you'd like to learn the second half of that song, as well as get the tablature and the MP3 jam track so that you can practice playing everything we're about to learn. And I have it in multiple tempos. I have a slower version as well. You can get all of that by going to activemelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP391. All right, let me mention this guitar. This is a new one for me, and I'm really excited about this guitar. It's the oldest one I've ever owned. This is a Martin 1925 0028. And it is just, it's incredibly light. I mean, look at this. It's like, it feels like it's made out of balsa wood. But it's like 3 pounds. But even though it's small in size and so lightweight, it's got the biggest, brightest sound. I mean, it's just amazing. This is a lot of fun to play. It's got a nice V-neck profile, and it's an amazing guitar. I saw this guitar here in Nashville, actually back in the summer, on Instagram. So this came from Carter Vintage here, and I saw Jason Isbell playing this on Carter Vintage's Instagram page. Actually, it's probably still up there. You can probably find it. But anyway, he and his wife were playing, and Jason was playing this guitar, and I thought, man, that is the coolest sounding looking guitar. So I wanted to get it back then, but they had it priced a little too high. And so here's a pro tip for you. If I'm sure you know this, but when a guitar sits around in inventory, and this could be whether you're looking on eBay or Reverb or however you're seeing them, a lot of times they'll take a much lower price, because they want to move the guitar, and it just means they've overpriced it anyway. So anyway, I contacted them, and this week I kind of kept going back to that guitar. I kept thinking about it, and we ended up checking it out and working a deal. So anyway, that's what it is. 0028, really cool guitar, and you'll be seeing a lot more of this. All right, so this lesson is really an extension of what we did last week. So last week's lesson was EP390, if you're seeing this out of context. And we talked about the major scale and how you could play a simple melody, like we used Happy Birthday as an example, and how you can improvise and embellish around it and make it sound kind of cool. Well, we're going to be playing the major scale this week, but we're going to be altering it to convert it into that Mixolydian scale. But we're going to stay in the same key, and I did that on purpose. So we're still going to be in the key of G. So our chords this week, so 1, 4, 5, we have the G is the 1 chord, C is the 4, and D is the 5 chord. And in essence, if I give you the 30,000 foot view of what we're about to learn here, we are going to be playing the chord changes. So as we play the G chord, as the G chord passes by in the song, we're going to be playing the G Mixolydian mode, G Mixolydian scale. When the C chord passes by, we're going to be playing C Mixolydian scale, and when the D chord passes by, you guessed it, we'll be playing the D Mixolydian scale. In between those scales, however, we're going to be working in the G minor pentatonic scale for all three of those chords. So we're just going to be playing that minor pentatonic scale as just sort of little fillers in between. That's in essence what's going on here. And I think it's that combination of those two that really give it the sound that at least speaks to me. So we're going to be connecting everything to the E shape and the A shape out of Caged. Now, if you remember last week's lesson, I showed you there was 5 different positions to play the major scale. And I connected it to the 5 chords of the Caged system, C, A, G, E, D. This week we're only going to be looking at the E and the A shape out of that. So the G major scale played off of the E shape looks like that. That's the lower half. There's the upper half. It's like 2 octaves of it right there. And so you can connect it back to this chord shape. It helps you find it easily. To play G Mixolydian scale, we alter the 7th interval. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but we just flat the 7. That's it. That's all Mixolydian scale is. That's what it sounds like. And you can already start to hear that bluesy vibe by adding that flatted 7. That would be the note that you'd play if you're playing a G7 chord, you know? That note, that's the flatted 7. So when would I use this G Mixolydian? I would use it when I wanted to add a little bit of grit to the song. If I'm playing something up-tempo, that's when you'd use it. You know, wanted to blues it up a little bit. You wouldn't use it if you were playing a real slow song, like a slow ballad in the key of G. It wouldn't work as well. So if I was playing something, just as an example, I'd play something. You can see what I'm doing as I'm accenting that 7th interval, which is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? So it's got, that's how you'd play it if you were playing the 7th interval that's not flatted. But if I were to play that same thing with a flatted 7, the Mixolydian, it'd be like something like this. It's too harsh, right? It just doesn't work in a slow ballad. So that's what G Mixolydian scale is. But let me give you a different lens so that you can look at this from a different way. Instead of just thinking of it as the G major scale but with the flatted 7, it's also the C major scale. Now this is going to blow some of your minds and some of you are going to be like, not even care, but it's the C major scale. That's all we're playing. This is the C major scale. If you don't believe me, let's look at the C major scale. Right? But if I put a G in the bass, and I landed on the G note of the C major scale, I am now playing G Mixolydian. And so the way that you find that is if I wanted to find the G Mixolydian scale, for example, I have to ask myself, what is G the 5 of? That's how it works. So if I were looking at the key of C, 1, 4, 5. So in the key of C, G is the 5 chord. So that's why C major scale is G Mixolydian. And I don't want to go any deeper than that, but you're just going to have to trust me. So in essence then, as we're playing these chord changes, I can think of it this way. I can just play the C major scale for the 1 chord. I can play the F major scale for the 4 chord. And I can play the G major scale for the 5 chord. Believe it or not, G major scale is D Mixolydian. So anyway, I know some of you are going to be totally tracking with me on that, and some are going to be totally lost. If you're lost, don't worry so much about it. You can just look at the formula for flatting the 7, and you're just going to have to memorize it that way. The reason I wanted to give you that other lens, though, is since we already know the major scale, hopefully you've learned it at least from those previous lessons that I was talking about, now you can play Mixolydian mode just by pivoting what your vision of the fretboard. So you can think about playing C major, right, when you're playing over G chord, and that would be G Mixolydian. Just make sure you accent the G notes out of the C major scale. All right, so real briefly then, the notes for G Mixolydian off of this E chord shape. There's the first octave. Let's do the second octave. Okay, so now let's get into the song. So the song starts off with this. We're going to start with that lick. Now that is sliding up, and I'm going right into this E shape. So I'm picturing that G triad there. So I'm sliding into the 4th fret 3rd string. That'd be your 3rd interval in the chord. And then playing the 3rd fret 2nd string. 2 notes in the G chord, right? Then I come to that 5th fret 2nd string, sorry. And then back to the 3rd fret 2nd string. So all together. So when I came up to this note, that's another note in the G Mixolydian scale. There it is, right? Now you could also look at this as E or G major pentatonic scale pattern too, right? So you could think of it that way. All right. and then this lick. Now I love this lick. If you learn nothing else, you got to walk away with this lick. It's too cool. So 5-3 on the second string, and then slide from the 5th fret to the 6th fret on the second string, and then I play the 3rd fret first string. And look at that, all in that G Mixolydian scale, right? And then we go back, slide it back down, 6-5-3. And then I landed on the 5th fret 3rd string. Let's take it from the beginning. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so after I played that, then I went right into the minor pentatonic scale. And so this is a good example of starting off in G Mixolydian mode and then going into throwing in that G minor pentatonic scale. So that would be that 6th fret first string. And by the way, this is G minor pentatonic scale pattern 1. Hopefully you can start to connect these things where within this E shape, you've got the G Mixolydian scale, but you've also got G minor pentatonic scale right there. And when you can start to see the two, it becomes powerful. Okay, so that's going to be 6th fret first string with a little bit of a bend, and then 3rd fret string 1 and 2. We're going to bar those two there. Do a quick slide, 6-5 on the 3rd string. And then down to the 3rd fret 3rd string. This note that has started the slide in, that would be your blue note out of the blues scale. And we're going to come back to that note in a minute. That's another note that I kind of work in here. And it's not really in the Mixolydian scale, nor the minor pentatonic scale, but it works well as like a little passing note. So we have, and then we go 5-3-5 on the 4th string. So, okay, and then I went kind of a Chuck Berry thing. 3rd fret, strings 1 and 2. And if you like that Chuck Berry thing, look at where that is in your chord shape. It's also Elmore James, right? It's just right there. It's just a power chord, really. So 5 chord. Okay. So I go back to the 5th fret 2nd string, back to the 3rd fret 2nd string. All right, from the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I worked in this awesome bluegrass lick that I learned on mandolin, but I converted it to guitar. Man, that's saying a lot, but it's powerful. Okay, so we're starting with our pinky on the 6th fret 1st string, sliding up to the 7th fret 1st string. Now, this is the note that's being really targeted there. So if we follow that G Mixolydian scale, that's what it's just another note in the scale, but I'm starting 1 fret below it, sliding into it. That's what gives it that bluesy flavor, because that note is in the minor pentatonic, sliding into the major. It's really going from the minor to the major 3rd. And then down to the 3rd fret 1st string, and then we're going to go. So this is just a straight walk down. This is actually easy to play because you can visualize it. You can go 6-5-3 on the 2nd fret string, and then do the same thing, 6-5-3 on the 3rd string. So, and then once we come here, I'm going to do a hammer-on from the 3rd fret 3rd string to the 4th fret. And then we're going to go 5-4-3 on the 4th string. Now a lot is going on there. This is that Mixolydian scale. But then when I come to this note, that's that blue note. I already mentioned that just a minute ago. We use that as sort of a passing note. So that's why that note works. Anytime you want to blues something up, you go in from your minor pentatonic scale. You can throw in that one note and it just colors it in a very bluesy way. That's considered the blues scale, actually. You just take the minor pentatonic scale and you add that extra note there. So once I come to this, we're going back into the Mixolydian. Now, this, when I throw in this note, the 4th fret, that would be a passing tone. That's really playing chromatically. Anytime, like if you've got your minor pentatonic scale, for example, right? If I play the notes in between, that's considered chromatic playing. You can do a little bit of it. You don't want to overplay that. So that's one of those things that you can try working in. And actually, I'm going to do it in another spot here. So that's what's going on. So you're going to want to practice that lick over and over again. It's just alternate picking with the right hand, down, up, down, up. Starts with a downstroke. All right, so this is where the song switches to the C chord. And I played C Mixolydian scale. Let me show you a very easy way to find Mixolydian scale off of your A chord shape. So look at this. Let me just show you the notes and it's going to make sense here. So we have 2nd fret, 4th string, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 2, 3, 5 on the 4th string. We have the same thing on the 3rd string, 2, 3, 5. So, and then on the 2nd string we have 3, 5, 6, and then we have that same pattern on the 1st string, 3, 5, 6. So look at that, we have. Now you can see right in between that, you have that A shape. So we're playing our C chord here using the A shape. And I've got that whole Mixolydian scale running right through it. It makes it so easy to find that. And easy to visualize that, I should say. So now you can think of that, you can find it off of anytime you're playing a chord. It makes it very easy. Okay, now some of you are going to say, wait a minute, that pattern looks so familiar. I feel like I know that from somewhere. Well, you do, because as I said earlier, this is the F major scale. Because remember, if we're playing in the key of F, that's your 1, there's your 4, C is your 5, right? So anyway, so what's going on there is that's another way to look at it, is I'm just playing the F major scale. It just depends on how you want, which lens you want to use when you're improvising. Now, when I'm improvising, I just think about the shape when I'm playing off the A shape. And that's one thing I hear a lot of bluegrass players doing, is going back and forth between that flatted 7 and the 6. And it just sort of emphasizes that that's the scale you're playing. So we're playing over the C chord now, and when I played that lick, I went. So that's the first thing we're going to do. 2, 3, 5 on the 4th string, 2nd fret, 3rd string, and then 3rd fret, 3rd string. And then we walked it back down. 3, 2, and then 5 on the 4th string. So all together. And then we go back to the 2nd fret, 3rd string, and then I did this. All still in that C Mixolydian scale. So I use my middle finger for that, but that's from the 3rd fret, 3rd string, sliding up to the 5th fret, and then 3rd fret, 2nd string. Then I go ahead and bar there on the 5th fret and play 3, 2 on the 5th fret. So back to the 3rd fret, 2nd string, and then to the 5th fret, 3rd string. I'm going to play this here in a minute. We'll do the slow walkthrough, put it in context. But slowly we have this. And then watch this. So I just walked it up. From here, we're going to go to the 3rd fret, 2nd string again. Do that slide, 5th fret to the 6th fret on the 2nd string. And then we're going to go 3rd fret, 5th fret, 6th fret. and we land on that 6th fret first string. All together then. Really cool lick. I love that. And I just sort of made that one up. And to get back to the G, I did a half bend there, 5th fret first string, came down to the 3rd fret first string. So then I walked it right down that C Mixolydian, 6, 5, 3, 5th fret 3rd string, and then back to that 3rd fret 2nd string. And then there's the G, right? You can hear it. So that's the hammer-on between the 3rd fret and the 4th fret on the 3rd string. All right, so backing up from the beginning of that C part. Now from there the song goes, we're back to the G, and I went into G minor pentatonic scale pattern 2. So that's where I'm at. So I slid up here to the 7th fret 3rd string, and then the 6th fret 2nd string. So that'd be 7, 6. So I play that. And then I play 7, 6, and then 8 on the 2nd string. And then watch this. So this is pattern 2 of the minor pentatonic scale, but I'm going to hammer on from the 6th fret to the 7th fret on the 1st string, 8th fret 1st string, do the hammer on again between the 6th and 7th fret. Okay? And then 8th fret 2nd string, 6th fret 2nd string. I love that lick. It's all a lick in that minor pentatonic scale. Now this note, I realize, is not in the minor pentatonic scale. We're breaking out of it for that one note. And you can think of that as being major pentatonic scale, or you could think of that as, you know, when we slid into that note a minute ago, that would also be in G Mixolydian scale. So we have, and then we went, so that's doing that little triangle again. 7th fret 3rd string, 6th fret 8th fret on the 2nd string, and then a hammer on between the 6th and the 8th fret, and then I walked it down back to this note, 7th fret 3rd string, slide it down to the 5th fret 3rd string, and then watch this. There's the 3rd fret to the 4th fret on the 3rd string, and then my ring finger goes down on the 5th fret 4th string, and I'm just thinking about the G chord there. So sometimes I'm just literally hitting the notes in the chord. So another combination that you could work into this would be like a arpeggio. You know, you could work those in as well. You have all these things you can do. You know, it's just endless. And I am going to do a deep dive on this shortly, going through the neighborhood concept that I talked about last week. Okay. All right, so I'm going to wrap up this part 1 video there. We've gone through the theory, we've gone through some really cool Mixolydian licks, and then hopefully you'll join us as a premium member for the second half, where we'll go over the rest of this solo, but then you'll be able to play along with the jam track and put all of this in context. Let me back up and I'll play through this one last time so that you have everything that we've learned thus far. And then we'll see you in part 2. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, click the alert bell so you can be notified when I put out new lessons like this, which I do all the time. All right, so here's the final look, and then we'll see you in part 2. 1, 2, 3, 4.